please. Persistent prayer. Let's talk about it. Jesus, coffee, lots of coffee. God woke me up at 1 o'clock this morning to say, let's study, let's dig into the Word. And then I went back to sleep after I came out, dug through Acts 1, and did a soap. And flopped back in bed for a little while. So a little tired this morning. All right, so persistent prayer. So yesterday we talked about prayer. Wednesday we talked about confession. So today I want to talk about persistent prayer. Because yesterday we talked about our prayer life, right? But I want to talk about persistence in prayer and how we should stay at it and just keep digging and keep digging. And we don't give up. We don't go, well, I asked once, I'm good. I'm going to go into two parables. One's in Luke 11, the other one's in Luke 18. Luke 11, verses 5 through 7 are the parable of the friend that comes at midnight. Luke 18, the parable I'm going to go over, and that is the persistent, the woman, the parable of the judge and the persistent woman. So I'm going to go over this one. So this is Luke 11, verse 5. And he said to them, which of you shall have a friend, and go to him at midnight, and say to him, friend, lend me 3 loaves of bread, for a friend of mine has come to me on his journey, and I have nothing to set before him. And he will answer from within and say, do not trouble me, the door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give to you. I say to you, though, he will not rise and give to him because he is his friend, yet because of his persistence, he will rise and give him as many as he needs. So, when that friend is persistent, when that neighbor is persistent in asking, eventually the host is persistent in asking, eventually his neighbor will get out of bed, give him the loaves he needs, and let him go. I want you to think about that. Okay. I want to get into Luke 18 and go into the judge and the persistent woman. I love this. This is such a good parable. If I can find it. Such a good parable. This is Luke 18, starts in verse 1 and goes to verse 8. Then he spoke a parable to them, which, remember, parables are stories of real life situations, lifelike situations. Doesn't mean they actually happen, guys. Parables are lifelike situations. They're not big stretches that can't ever happen. These can very much happen. Then he spoke a parable to them that men always ought to pray and not lose heart, saying, there was in a certain city a judge who did not fear God, nor regard man. Now there was a widow in that city, and she came to him, saying, get justice for me from my adversary. And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I do not fear God or regard men, yet because this widow troubles me, and I will avenge her. I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she wearies me. She wears me out. Then the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge said. And shall God not avenge his own elect who cry out day and night to him, though he bears long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he really find faith on the earth? So guys, here's what I don't want you to miss. don't want you to miss this. So, what do both of these parables talk about? Well, if we persist, we'll get what we want. But here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to insert yourself into the widow's spot. I don't want you to insert yourself into the host's place. And I don't want you to put God in the neighbor or the judge's place, because that's not what these parables are about. This is not about, hey, if you wear God out with prayer, eventually he'll just grow tired, and he'll grow tired of your persistent prayer, and he'll eventually give in just to shut you up. But all the while, that's not what these parables are teaching. It's not what I want you to take away from these parables. Because so often that is what our exegesis, or that's what we take away from a teaching. And that's not what I want you to dig into in this. What I want you to take away, let me put my bookmark back in I can't see God because I'm in the way book. And in here, the author actually talks about, my exegesis of these Bible passages seem to support my theory that God doesn't want to be bothered with certain prayer requests. In both parables, I, the host or the widow, appear to be irritating and infuriating God, the neighbor, and the judge. Don't do that. You see, he's made a mistake there. I've read enough of the Old Testament to know that irritating and infuriating God is not wise. If you doubt my logic, go back and read the parables. The neighbor doesn't seem very pleased with the host, and the judge certainly has no fondness for the widow. But that's not what he's saying here. He goes on to talk about how God is loving. And what he's saying is, if the judge and the neighbor, will eventually give in, they'll give in kind of begrudgingly, but they'll give in because you'll wore them out. It's not what he's saying. He's just talking about how loving God is. And if a judge will give in because of this woman's persistence, and the neighbor will give in because of the host's persistence, God is much more loving than they are. So, of course, our prayers always answered the first time? No. Should we be persistent in prayer? Yes, we should. But persistence in prayer means that we need to think and remember God is loving. God is sovereign. He knows. He's in control of everything. He loves us, so he knows exactly what we need. And he's omniscient. So we might not need that right then and there. So it might not be right then and there that we are going to get that prayer answered. God may be going, just stay persistent, and I'm going to bring it. Just stay persistent. Stay with me. I know. Well, why can't God just drop it when he needs to drop it? Why do I have to keep asking? Because, guys, that's what we talked about yesterday. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says, pray without ceasing. It's that communication. It's that vertical relationship. You go and talk to your friends, right? Do you sometimes have to wear your friends out for stuff? Good morning, Bill. What's going on, my brother? Do you sometimes have to wear your friends out for stuff? Hey, can you help me do this? And sometimes they're not Johnny on the spot. Good morning, Jerry. Sometimes they're not Johnny on the spot with helping you out, but doesn't mean they're not going to. You just got to persistently ask. Same thing with God, guys. He's no different. You persistently ask. Jerry's had the joy of watching persistent prayer, watching God move in a young man's life who is fighting for his life, and God is laying his hands on and delivering as he does beautifully. showing his power, showing his glory. Persistent prayer. We never stop storming the gates of heaven. We never stop storming the gates. He loves to hear from us. And it's a blessing that we get to have that communication with him. We don't, good morning, Janice. We don't pester him with prayer. He never grows weary or tired of hearing from us. He wants to hear from us. He loves us. Never give up. Stay persistent in your prayers. If you guys have never seen the movie Case for Christ, amazing movie. True story of Lee Strobel. There's anybody you ever want to witness to, have them watch that movie. And they will, God will move in that movie. But Leslie, Lee's wife, as Leslie had come to Christ, she persistently prayed Ezekiel 36:26. Yes. Persistently prayed Ezekiel 36:26 over Lee. And what did God do? God wore him out. God wore him out. He went after the cross. C.S. Lewis said, don't question my faith. Question the cross of Christ. Because everybody who questions the cross of Christ finds Jesus. He said, I don't want people to question my faith. I want them to question the cross of Christ. Question the resurrection. And they find Jesus when they go and tear the resurrection apart. Yep. Jesus is standing there waiting on them. You're looking for me, huh? Found me. Here I am. Yeah. Persistent prayer, guys. Never stop. Pray without ceasing. Doesn't say pray when you feel like it. Yeah, pray 2 o'clock on Mondays and 3 o'clock on Tuesdays and 5 o'clock on Wednesdays and Fridays. No. Pray without ceasing. Foster that relationship with him. Don't stop. You're not pestering him. You're not bothering him. He loves you. That's why he came and wrapped himself in flesh, walked a sinless life to do what no man could do. Walk a sinless life and be the spotless lamb who went to the cross for us. When he drew his last breath and said, "It is finished," he meant it. And he bowed his head and gave up his soul, gave up his spirit. 300 prophecies fulfilled in his lifetime. Don't stop praying. I love you guys. I know he loves you like crazy. I'm going to go try and gather a little energy. We'll be back Monday with whatever Dad wants to talk about. You guys are going to see I'm going to continue to grind through Acts and doing soaps every day. September is going to be 28 chapters in the book of Acts, 30 days in September. I'm going to post a soap every day. So, love you guys.